Hi, we're recording. All right. So I have Jackie Lowe is your last name?
Jackie Lowe. Yep.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, you could talk about this, but the way that I found you was on TikTok. And it was that the viral video that went around TikTok and pissed everybody off. What was it? If how
Can
does
you
this
please be polite to men who hit on
on you?
you? Why is
Right.
being polite to men so hard to do? You don't have to give your number. Just try not to be a bummer. Why is being polite to men so hard for you? That way for the people who missed it.
So this video went berserk and made people go berserk. And I'm not even gonna lie, when I first saw it, um, I had a reaction, like a human reaction. I was like, "Oh my god, what is she saying right now?" But then and then I passed it. I'm not one of those people to comment or anything like that. And then everybody kept duetting and people went fucking crazy over this video, at least on my For You page. And and then I checked out your page somehow, like a month or 2 ago, and I was like, "Okay, I think you were trying to explain what really you were trying to say there, because people took it and ran, and they were like, "She's a woman hater. She
Yeah,
wants
and
women to
really,
get raped."
and to me, like a child can't be hit on. I don't believe that a child can be hit on. To me, only an adult. So I guess in my naivety and only having had TikTok for a little bit, I
Mhm.
was Facebook. I was
Oh
a
god.
still okay. I went straight from Facebook to TikTok. I made my first video got 70,000 views, and it was about that sound, where the dramatic effect sound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I did something which actually was like standing up for women and going like, "Oh, you like me no matter what, baby. Oh, really? Right? Sloppy bun, one titty hanging out, breastfeeding, sloppy bun and sweatpants." That did great. People love that one. And then I was exploring more, and I did that rhyme because I saw one about being nice to creeps, and I immediately, my knee jerk reaction to it was just like, well, not all men are creeps, and I've seen people actually in person where, I mean, I had a guy hit on me one time in a full suit. I was at work, he got dressed in a full suit, beads of sweat on his forehead, came up to me and like hit on me, and I was so nice to him, but I realized, like, I've seen before people fly off the handle and be like, "Wah!" So that's what it was. Like, to me, catcalling isn't being hit on, it's being harassed. And so that's why it was taken out of context. And then even after explaining it further, people just want to hear what they want to hear at that point.
Right, and wanna believe what they wanna believe. And when you explained it, because at first I saw it and I was like, "Is she saying, like, when women are walking down the street and they're blatantly being harassed and catcalled and followed, that they should be polite?" But then you said, you're like, there's a difference between catcalling and harassing, and politely walking up to a female and saying, "Hey, you're beautiful. Can I buy you a drink?" And asking for consent, and that's what you were saying. You were referencing those men that actually have respect for females. Eh
Absolutely. And saying that those people, and then I got the whole, and I didn't, by the way, when I released that video, did not know about the 97% statistic thing that had been going around. So the timing was just, and then I learned, because I kept getting this comment like 97%, like, what is going on? And then, I didn't agree with the study about that. But then I did a follow-up video about that, saying, hey, I do think that while all assault is bad and we need to be radically against that and like hold those people accountable for sure, I do think that there are psychological levels to, say, being trapped in a house and experiencing sustained abuse, and then, getting your butt grabbed at a bar. Now, are both absolutely disgusting and inappropriate, completely. But I think
Right.
we don't acknowledge the levels to that. I mean, our justice system does. So I think we on some level need to.
On a mental level, yeah. Because as a woman, even me as an androgynous, looking woman, I've been touched inappropriately. Do I feel as though I mean, I've been touched inappropriately by women too, though.
That's the
So
thing people don't talk about. And that's also important to know too, because if a woman does that at a bar when she's wasted, it's like, oh, it's just the drunk girl,
right,
that's doing this. And there should be equal accountability on both sides. Just
right.
like just like I agree that, like, so my video was about can you please be polite to men that hit on you? I also believe that if it, like, let's say you approach a woman and you don't know whether or not she, or, you know, and you're interested, who know, and you don't know whether or not she's straight or
gay.
not. I think that if that woman responds by being like, and saying something like homophobic or wrong, that's absolutely rude. There's no reason why you can't politely decline the invitation to coffee with respect for the fact that the other person has taken the time to get their emotions like built up. It's so nerve-wracking to do that, you know?
Right, to grab yourself by the balls and approach somebody that you think is attractive. It's takes a lot of, again, if I'm, and that's where I get what you're saying. If and I might get a lot of shit for this too, for actually agreeing with what you're saying, but if I, and we'll get into how ridiculous that even is, because what you're saying is not irrational at all, genuinely. If I'm coming to you, even if I'm not hitting on you, if I'm coming to you and I'm like, "Hey, how's your day going?" Like, you know, like, "You look like an interesting person to talk to, like, I hope you're having a good day." I'm being respectful. I'm not coming out of pocket. If you then respond to me simply because you're having a bad day or for whatever you've gone through in the past, if you respond to me and tell me to go fuck myself, who's the asshole in this situation? If I'm
Yeah.
showing you respect, you show me respect. And that's basically what you were saying, but people.
And that's what happens when you're limited to, and when, because we know the way, because like people will say like you're just doing this for clout or clout chasing or for views. It's like, no, I make TikToks all day so nobody can see them. Right? No, I'm making TikToks because yes, I want to grow an audience. Absolutely, I want to do something with this.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, people are more interested in, and you know, there's the new feature I think we have early access to is the 3-minute long
Yes.
ones. Okay, cool. Haven't tried it, but I've noticed that, and you know, even when you're telling a story, you have to press click, click, click to keep the attention going. We know how that works. So I've come to realize that it's almost like the shorter the clip, the more engagement that it gets. And then in some way, it allows you to follow up and expand on the original position by
Mhm.
sparking that initial outrage farming. Yeah, sure. You know,
Yeah.
whatever.
And people are genuinely like, and I can also agree that people are constantly looking for reasons to be fucking outraged. And a lot of the times it does certain movements disservice for being that way, you know, like, um, whatever the movement is, if it's sexual assault and you're just constantly deeming everything sexual assault when it's really not, you're kind of taking away from the people who are actually being fucking sexually assaulted and abused. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of what you're saying as well. Like,
Totally. And I think that we should lean towards like believing all people. But I also think that if a person accuses somebody of doing something and ultimately it, and then there's so many failures, there's so many faults of our justice system, right? Like, you know, we say blind justice. Like, why would justice be blind when it comes to children? Why should children have to try so hard to prove that they've been assaulted? Why isn't there something special set up in our justice system? I mean, children are too honest. If I'm
right.
in the grocery store and a kid's gonna call me chunky, it's like cruel. Now you know what, well, now I know I need to go to the gym. You know what I mean? They'll keep it real. So I think we have that. And so there's an issue of people of like, you know, you got to require this evidence to prosecute people like this. But at the same time, we do know that there have been people who make up stories, whether it's to get their name in the media because if it's a special story, or so where it's like, how do we find the balance
Right.
of accountability? You know what I mean? And that's,
And I think that that is what it's all like, what it really is all about. And um the reason why things are so toxic. Like I said, I don't know if I said this yet since recording, but when I reached out to you, what did I say? I said, I really don't politically agree with anything that you post, but I don't also, more so than me not agreeing with you politically, because at the end of the day, that doesn't fucking matter. If you like tequila and I like tequila, we could go have a drink and dance our asses off and have a good time. Doesn't matter who you voted for, you know? Um,
yes, I totally, doesn't have to totally end friendships. And the way that you came at me was so nice. And so many, not a lot of people have really done that, except for there was like this one person, Arden Gray. They're a minor, but they're a nice young person. And they'd asked me a question about how I felt about the LGBTQ community. I did a response video saying I have nothing against this community. It's not my personal calling in life. You know, everybody has a cause that they're passionate about. Do I think that there should be Pride months? Sure. Yeah. Do I have any? No. So no, I don't think there's Christian people in the LGBTQ community. Do I believe as a Christian they can go to heaven? Absolutely. Do I believe you know, so I did a follow-up video, right, about what I felt, you know, and they were totally like, wow, I got to know you in a different way, and then started stitching my videos and stopping the bullies. And this young person has severe Tourette's, and I started noticing that people were commenting on this person's profile, and this is a young person, and just like, it's very clear they had real Tourette's, not believing them at all, making fun of them, just so severely bullying this person. And now we've kind of been able to have each other's back a little bit, and we still don't agree politically,
Right.
but
that is, to me, that is fucking beautiful. Like, that is what it should be. Because one of the videos that prompted me to reach out to you was somebody either saying something about your kid or you or something like that. And I was like, you know, I disagree with virtually everything that she's saying, but to attack her as a human is just, it's a whole nother level of fucking evil to me. I don't know. And you immediately, I feel like if you have any point that you're trying to make, your point goes right down the toilet, right down the shitter, because you decided to fucking attack somebody that you don't even know. You know what I mean?
yeah, I'd say that their kid deserves to get bullied. Like, that's a 1.5-year-old son. Or, you know, they are now saying that they've released my address. My husband lost his job from the TikToks. I don't know if
What?
you, so, and this is partially his, but I have to take accountability for our side of this also. He when that first Be Polite to Men video happened and it started going gnarly viral, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Hey, and my husband's a musician and an artist type and funny comedian, right? So I'm like, let me put your handle in my bio. You know, I'm like, you're gonna have to change it from your high school nickname of Sexual Bandit just because of what I'm going through right now. So he changed it to Byronius, which is, his name is Byron, so he changed it to part of his name. And okay, and I put it in the bio to drive traffic to his site, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander of the family, right?
Right.
And I'm at the park, okay, and I'm doing my first live to try to respond to people. I'm figuring it out, I don't even know how to do it, right? And he's playing with our son, and he walks back up to me at the end and goes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just did my first live. It was such a rush. There were so many people listening. He's like, yeah. So I got fired just now. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, suspended. It turned into being fired. It's because he was making TikToks in the work uniform, but he worked for a big corporation like McDonald's would be. So,
Okay.
and it was just his first name. And I thought, how could people possibly find him at work? And by the way, his video is simply saying that it's worse to get a D pic, not as bad to get a D pic, although it's bad. And he even addressed men do not send women D pics, even if it's solicit. Just don't do it. Don't do it. But he again said there's levels to this. So that, and then a young person told him all men should kill themselves. And he did a response video and was like, wow, did you feel that way about Robin Williams? Keep that energy. So that's it. And the doxed and fired. And I'm like, I could not believe it. So,
Jeez.
you know,
That I don't agree with either, I have to say. And you probably, you know, what's his name? Trevor Noah. You probably know him, but don't agree with anything that he says.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
see, I told you my pop culture and name game is horrible.
It's fine. He's a more mainstream, like, liberal. He took over the Daily Show for Jon Stewart. And it's very like, it's very liberal. It's a political talk show, night show. And he's from South Africa, and he's half black, half white. So he was around during apartheid, and he saw how his parents had to be separated, and he was basically, him being born as a crime and this and that. So he's very vocal about that. But he was on a podcast one time, and he was asked, like, how do you think we should deal with people who, let's say, may say out of pocket things about race or about sexual abuse that, like, people don't necessarily agree with? And he said, our problem is that we immediately just cancel them. Instead of, if you feel like what somebody said was wrong or out of pocket or maybe insensitive to a whole community, instead of firing them and doxing them, if that's how you feel, you have a conversation and
Yeah.
try to educate and explain why what was said could have been taken a certain way. And I think that's the fucking issue as well. Is like we're so quick to just cancel people and get them fired and this and that. It's like, what does that do? What does that do again for the whole movement and like bringing people together? It just
It just
creates.
makes people angrier, less open-minded to learning. There are levels to that though. Like if someone comes out and they're like, "Hi, I'm a KKK member." Yeah, canceled. You lost your
Right.
job, bud. Maybe your crew will take care of you now. Bye. You know,
Right.
but when a person's saying something that's controversial or as you would say out of pocket or that could be discussed more in more depth, like there anytime my mind has ever been changed about anything, it's never been by having information shoved down my throat. It's always been by having an exploratory conversation where I felt like my opinion was respected, and that's how we should handle this. And yet, doxing people during a time when our economy is destroyed, when there's small children to support, and then feeling congratulatory about it, and just I feel like But then again, don't make TikToks that are controversial in your work uniform. That was the lesson learned there too.
And there's always a lesson to it, and that's fine. But I still like you said, there are levels to it. And I feel like we are missing, even people at the top are just missing the mark. We have to reach out to people. It's easy to have a conversation with somebody that you fucking agree with. It's so easy because you just become yes men for one another and it's an echo chamber and you're like, yeah, I
Yes.
agree. I agree too. Let's grab each other by the balls. You know what I mean? And like skip around. What's difficult is having a conversation with somebody you don't agree with and not being a barbarian. Well, I don't think it's difficult. It doesn't seem like it's difficult for you either.
No. No, in fact, but what has been difficult is trying to manage. So I guess when I first started, and they say there's lib talk and conservative talk or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
it's like I would like to see more of a mixture. Like if you whatever you like on your FYP or thing, it just keeps showing you nothing but that. It bothers me because like I have had my mind changed about things. Like there was a time when I thought, and I have in my past life, way before I ever became a mother, had my own experiences with narcotics and I changed my life and turned it around. I didn't do that through a 12-step program, but I did it. Right.
Mhm.
And so I was in a sociology class. They were saying legalize all drugs. And when I first heard that, I was like, I don't know if a crack store would have been good for me in my early teens, but then I started thinking, and through having a conversation with somebody who had liberal to politics, and then my husband and I had because we're like, no, if we're going to be about freedom, if we're going to be freedomist and believe that everybody should be able to do what they want to do ultimately, right?
Yeah.
With exception, then we can't really tell other people what they're allowed to put into their body. So the idea we had was, what if there's a drug license where you apply for the drug license, just like a person does with a drug license. And then if you burn the spot a few times, the license is revoked and you're offered treatment or something like that. Right. So it would be nice to see more liberal stuff, even on my FYP, just to hear, other sides or less extremists. And then also in the comment section, because I started out in liberal, then the conservatives found me. Now it's a mixed bag. And because, I've had my profile permanently banned twice and gotten the ban lifted twice. I would say like 70% of my videos or so get taken down, even when they're not saying anything gnarly. And then TikTok ends up resurfacing them. And it's because I'm getting spam reported. So I thought, this is not what I want. I do, because people are telling me just block all the liberals. I'm like, no, then what would be the point?
Right. And that's
Echo
it.
chamber.
Exactly. Then you're just living in an echo chamber of people who just agree with you. And the whole point is, and that's why you're here and I'm here right now, is the whole point is to find some sort of common ground. You're not the enemy and I'm not the enemy, but for some reason we will make each other, if we disagree on even one fucking thing. Like I'm a liberal through and through, but I want to get my pistol license, and I hate the fact that New York doesn't have a concealed carry license. Like, you know what I mean? That the gun laws. Do I agree with certain restrictions? Yes. Do I think we should be giving anybody guns? No. But
Agreed.
but I'm pro guns, you know what I mean? But it we get to this point where even if you disagree on one subject, you're automatically deemed a fucking enemy. We're enemies now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's
Like I kept on getting troll asked all the time, pro-life, I get asked what my pronouns, by the way, I get asked what my pronouns are in every live spam. I get spam asked that question, which I actually think is disrespectful, because it's like, you know, that you're just using this as an opportunity to repeatedly ask me the same question, which is disrespectful to me and actually disrespectful to the community that you claim to be standing up for, you know? So
right.
there's that. When I go on live, so wait, I was gonna go into something, but I forgot what it was. I got stuck there. When I go on, yeah, the going on lives are hard because you just get spammed, and then it's like, should I have a moderator? Should I be blocking these people? No, I don't want to do that. I want to
Right.
create a space where we can, and there's so many things, like, oh yeah, the abortion thing. I was asked about abortion over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So finally I made a video and I was like, look, I had an abortion. I had an abortion in my early 20s that I now regret. Okay. But and I ultimately said, I believe, you know, if we don't allow the access to that, people will do it illegally, and that can cause women reproductive harm and can cause their death and all sorts of stuff like that I'm super against. So yeah, abortion, yes. I do think that we should cap it, you know, but I also know that you don't really know, you know, there has to be something in the yolk sac in order for them to even give it to you. So when Texas just created the law, which I think is the heartbeat law, I think that's a manipulative way to go about it, because it stops the abortion being illegal without stopping it. So, but I
Yeah.
also think that there is a limit, like 12 weeks, or I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say, but there should be a limit that we come up with, unless it's for medical reasons, where
Right.
I feel that we draw the line there. So, and so I said that, I said, how could I be a hypocrite being a woman that's had an abortion and then say that I don't think other women should have certain access to that? And I knew that that was going to upset a lot of the radical Christian base that I had, but you know what? It's the truth. Now, if a young person was sitting next to me and asking me for my advice, I might say, hey, I made this decision that I regret. It's your body and your choice, but I wouldn't have done that again if I could do it all over, you know?
Yeah.
So like, and I got so much crap for that from even the liberal side. And I'm like, look, I'm really trying to be fair,
Rational.
you know?
And what you're saying is completely fucking rational. It's completely rational. Um, I don't I consider myself pro-choice, but also pro-life as well, because like if I were to get pregnant or something like that, would I want to necessarily kill the child and to get rid of it and abort it? No. But do I think that I deserve the choice to do it? Yes. And I know so many people who have had abortions for one reason or another, and 9 out of 10 women regret it, even if it is a medical condition, an
Yeah.
ectopic pregnancy, whatever the fuck it is. They regret it and live with it for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? But I do agree the choice should be there. So
And to minimize the pain and suffering of making that hard choice by doing funny TikToks where it's like, no, 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 on the way to the abortion clinic, laughing and drinking wine. It's like, wow, you know, a lot of people really like take that choice very seriously, struggle with it, and then go through a lot. And when they come out of it, and that's how I actually felt at the time, because at the time I was like, just a clump of cells, you know, da da. And I did it. And then, but I had all these emotions that I felt like I couldn't express about it, because if I do, then I'm acknowledging that I feel like I did something. It's like I'm creating my own shame. Like, you know, I can't admit that it's a whole thing. Like,
it's a mind fuck. It's
yeah,
a whole mind fuck. And it's crazy that other people are the ones that like project that onto you, that you can't say, yeah, I do feel a little guilty. Oh, so you're saying that it's wrong? No, I'm saying I'm a fucking human being and I made a choice for myself that I felt was good at the time, but that made me feel fucking guilty. You've never done that about anything in life. You know, people, when it comes to politics and like where you stand, people don't remember the humanity in a lot of situations.
yeah, you're right.
And I think that's why people are so fucking volatile and disgusting. I don't know.
A lot of it is being behind a computer screen. A lot of it is super young people. And then they're like, this app is for kids. I'm like, really? Where's Kid Talk? Can we please create can we have kid talk and teen talk? Because we need to create a censored version of this app. I mean, I've seen some little kids stitch my videos. I'm like, this little kid's like 11 years old. His full face is like this. I don't. I'm like going, whoa.
Did he agree with you or not? Like
Sometimes they do. And so one of them was like, what would you, Libby the liberal, was like, what would you do if I hung this flag in your house? And so they've got these little 12 and 11-year-old kids, and they're like gaming, they're like got their video games, they got their Cheeto, like what it's like when you're a kid, you have this soda, and they're like, well, I would, they're just like, some agree, some don't. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see young people being creative, but I do worry about what's really odd is that I think probably people in politics on both sides are getting censored on some level. I don't know. I know that there is a censoring energy of conservatives on TikTok. I'm sure it might exist for liberals as well. But what doesn't seem to be as censored on the app is like super sexualized stuff
and pedophilia.
Huh?
And fucking pedophilia.
Like the guy that was telling all these girls to do the splits.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I stitched a video about it. There was a guy, and like then then everybody started like searching his username and realized, like, looked up his comments, and he was just constantly telling all these young little girls to do the splits. Telling little girls on TikTok to do the splits. And it was sad because one girl answered and said, oh, I can't do it because I don't know how. And then someone looked at it and was like, that's fishy, and looked at the username, and the guy got called out for it. And it's like, so we really need to be focused on the pedophiles on this app, on the people who, like, if you want to, and then I guess, I'm not an advocate for sex working. I have my own personal history in that background that makes me not, not cool, but,
I don't know how I feel about it, to be quite honest. Like, I think I might have to agree with you more so than I understand. I try to see both sides, but I get how it could be very. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I know. So I grew up with a woman who was in that industry back in the 80s, and it was a much different industry. And even then, though, it had its problems. But now, like young porn actresses and actors, their career span is only like 6 months, and then they're considered used up by the industry, and they have to do more gnarly stuff. There's right down the street from where I live is MindGeek, which is the mega corporation that owns Pornhub, and there's been proven like all these like non-consensual videos, like videos with minors, and like the even women who have been raped and had their videos leaked and put on that, coming to Pornhub and saying, please take this video down, this is my rape, and having to get legal defense in order to get them to take it off. So it's like, and I understand, like, that the empowerment of our sexuality has always been a part of any kind of feminist movement, I guess. But I think we can take that too far, or also not realize that, some people are being exploited, and some people on OnlyFans are not, they're actually, being sex trafficked, and we gotta make sure it's consensual. And then what if we made it so that if it's consensual and it's what people want to do, it can be freely distributed amongst each other? Or there has to be a way to regulate it so that there's less, like maybe they get mental health, like they get, medical health care,
Yeah, you're right. And I think I'm more, honestly, I would take the more conservative approach there as well. Like, agreeing with, and I don't even think that's conservative, to be quite honest, because I agree with the sexual freedom. Clearly, I'm a raging lesbian, but like, I agree with the freedom of expression, of sexual expression. But you're right, there's a point where it's too much. Like, it needs to be in moderation, and people are being abused and literally used.
Yeah.
Wasn't Pornhub, didn't they shut down for a little bit or something like that over shit?
I didn't hear anything about that, but I just, you also have to think, like, right now, like, so it's been like it's much more popular now to be in that industry than ever before, right? I don't think people understand, though, that is there on the internet forever. So even if you think that you're just on OnlyFans and you're only selling it to your paid subscribers, they still leak your videos. So for the rest of your life, you're going to be able to find your boobies on the internet now. And someday you might become a mom and realize 30 years, 20 years later that you're going to have a conversation with your 11-year-old about how someone might, show you this about my past to try to hurt me or expose what I did. You know what I mean? So it's almost
Yeah.
like you have to tell your kid that you were a sex worker so that someone doesn't, show them at school, if you're successful, right? So it's like, and I'm sure there's just such a sea of it, but yeah, it's not cool, and it does seem like, no, I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me that it is a conservative versus liberal issue, right? And I don't think, yeah, like sex work is real work. It's great work. And yeah, it's hard work.
It
But
is
I don't
hard.
think anybody grows up and is going, yeah, so if it's so normalized, because I've heard the argument, it's totally normal. I'm like, if it's so normalized, right? So normal, then wouldn't we have it in junior high and elementary school? Be like, so we take the future career test and it says sex worker is what your personality would be good for. Well, no, because it's not normal. It's not. Right? No answer for that.
I hope that never happens. But I agree, because even now, like being an influencer and social media, that's normalized. Where if you take I'm sure if you take a quiz out there, it'll be like, yeah, you should be on YouTube or whatever, because that I feel like is a normalized thing, especially with TikTok and YouTube and podcasting, whatever. But I don't think sex work is normalized, nor do I think it should be normalized. I feel like a lot of people have told me with my platform, make an OnlyFans, get off of Patreon, make an OnlyFans because like sex sells quicker, you'll make more money. To me, they're like, you don't need to show boobs, because I would never do that. Just, take pictures of yourself in your underwear and like all the girls look. I don't care. I don't care how much money I'd make. To me, that would be like selling my soul to the devil.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And to encourage people to do that, like, and I've seen that also, like encouraging people, like, oh, you this would be your market, this would be your niche, or this would be, and to say that is like really devaluing the person. Like, wait, I have so much to offer, or you have so much to offer just on your own with what you have to say.
Right.
And I heard you were a musician also, and you had a whole journey, like you had a whole followership with your music and then went through this stuff. And so it's like, why need to do that? And also, like, money isn't everything, I mean, and we're coming into a society where I feel like we've like demonized being comfortable with not being super financially successful. When I got married, I knew my husband for only 30 days before we got married. Everybody thought I was completely insane, totally thought I was nuts. And I knew, by the way, when I did that, I'm like, this is either going to turn out really good or
really bad,
or just another one of those things I did,
another story to tell.
And our first date was $1 tacos because that's what he could afford. I bought the 6-pack, went to his house, we played chess and went home. It was very innocent, very cool. I was thinking, all right, like, aren't we going to make out now? And like 3 days later, I finally, but he didn't have a driver's license. He was renting a room in a very eccentric environment. And we shared a twin size bed, and he's 6'3", for the first several months of our relationship. And he was a graveyard, security guard. So we weren't super well to do. And I have an English degree, but, I thought it was going to get me so far, but unfortunately that creative writing degree really didn't, it wasn't as life changing. I'm the first person to graduate high school in my family. So it's a great achievement. But at the end of the day, all it does is when people call me an ignorant, uneducated, inbred, conservative, whatever, white trailer trash, whatever they're going to call me, I can be like, excuse me,
bitch.
It's also,
here it is.
Here's my degree, but when we got married, we had like no money. Right. And we didn't even have a wedding, and we just did a little courthouse thing. I had a bubble gun, blowing bubbles and throwing pumpkin seeds, whatever. And to me, it was really innocent and romantic. And as we've been married for 4 years now, we've slowly grown our lives step by step together. And it's like, I just feel like people should feel empowered if they choose to,
right,
know that they can make the commitment long term, whether they have it made in the shade or not yet. And a lot of people hold back on having children or doing these things because of money unnecessarily, in my opinion, sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think and I don't want it to come off like I'm knocking any, because I know a couple people who have OnlyFans and they're doing really fucking well. And
yeah,
really fucking well. Like, And I'm like, damn, sometimes I'm like, I wish I had like the balls or whatever to do it. I
I've
just,
got it. Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to, because, um, I don't know. I just feel like there's more depth, and the deep game, like the conversations like this, having deep conversations and talking to people. It's the slow build, because in today's society, regardless of who you are, what side you're on, we have the attention spans of fucking fleas, which is why TikTok does so fucking well. And people can't even
Yeah.
watch 3-minute goddamn videos
I
on
know, I'm not even
TikTok.
trying it because I'm like, no one's gonna watch the 3 minute clip.
Right. Nobody's gonna get past the 15-second fucking mark, you know? So
Yeah.
it's tough, but at the same time, like I agree. It's not something I would choose for myself or my wife, or you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And then I did a video on that, and I was like, look, I was extremely sexually promiscuous. I really was. I mean, I was out there, and for me personally, and I guess not all people feel this way, but I've actually met a lot of men that feel this way too. So it's not just like my little feminine energy can't handle having a bunch of partners. It's not just about that either, because I think that's the same for all people of all orientations, period. But I don't know that I don't want to make a general assumptions about, I feel right. Like over the years, what I did to myself by doing that, um, to me started to feel like I was polluting my soul. People took that as if I was saying that they're damaged goods. And like
Uh-oh.
whatever your spirituality is or isn't, if it's going to the beach or it's going on a walk and whatever your thing is, listening, right? Like,
Oh, sorry.
oh, it's okay. You feel like your energy, um, for me, it just, over the years, I started to feel like I was hurting myself by doing
Yeah.
that. And then I made a commitment to be more wise in choosing partners so as to not hurt myself, and also, hey, to not hurt another person who might expect something from me that I wasn't able to give them, because men can get their feelings hurt too, so I just,
Right.
for me, that's, I feel like that. And so then when you compound that with being on a camera and doing it in front of all these people, I sometimes wonder if maybe some people in that industry love it. Sure, that there's totally that. And is it possible that because of the taboo nature still of that occupation, maybe they're saying that they love it and enjoy it so as to not
Demonize the industry.
acknowledge their own suffering? Huh?
Well,
What do you think?
oh no, I thought you were saying, sorry, I shouldn't have cut you off. I thought you were saying they
No,
say that they love it so that they're not demonizing the industry that they're working for, but you're saying something else, I think.
that.
Oh, that's
No,
what you're
no.
saying.
Also, that's another
Okay.
great point to add. So they're not demonizing the industry they work for, so that they cannot feel embarrassed. My husband was married to an exotic dancer before he got married to me. He was married before, right?
Mhm.
And she was a beautiful dancer and a really cool chick. Okay, but she did not. But and then again, I had my own personal experience growing up with someone that was in the industry. So I guess what I've seen is, at the end of the day, when the curtain closes and the performer gets off stage and takes off their eyelashes and takes off their makeup and gets down in their sweatpants and goes,
Yep.
sometimes what they're saying to the public about their occupation isn't actually how they feel. And so she had expressed feeling like it was degrading, and although she felt empowered because she knew she was a really good dancer, and at times she felt empowered by the money and the power, she also at times felt this whole other way, and that way dominated. And that's why when they got married, she was like, hey, can I stop doing this? He's like, happy, yeah, I'll get another job, you stay home and paint. And so she got to be at home and paint, and her life was a lot better and during that time, because she wasn't having to do that. So we got to, and I'd like to see more. It would be nice if people were more honest about it, I think, when they're in that line of work, and just
Yeah.
talking about both sides, the joy and power and control, and also the pain and suffering.
I think also, um, people don't, because a lot of the times, and maybe this is me making assumptions, but a lot of the times I'll see like porn stars, like I'll watch interviews with porn stars and stuff like that. But
Oh my goodness.
no, it's fucking spotty Wi-Fi. Um,
Where
what the
were
hell?
you though? You were going to go off on a really great
what the hell was I saying? I like to look at those interviews and think like what brought them in their life, what past traumas or things that they've been through brought them to becoming a porn star. Because I feel like, and I'm not trying to judge or anything like that, but I genuinely feel as though somebody who comes from a supportive household, a loving household of even if it's a divorce situation of just one parent that supports them in their endeavors and maybe, doesn't abuse them or whatever, that person or that kid is not going to grow up and be like, you know what, I'm going to become a sex worker. I just don't see
I
that
totally
happening.
agree. And I've met so many as I live in the Los Angeles part of the Los Angeles that I live in is the capital of the porn industry. So, you know, so I don't know if you know where that is and it's in San, whatever. I live in the area where it's where it's at. Okay. It's the capital of Los Angeles. It's porn land. And I have met so many that are not totally satisfied with that choice. And then by the way, like, what do you do now when you've been this? And then strip clubs were closed for a while, as far as I know. Right.
Yeah.
So what, and if we actually think about the danger that these workers are being put in, so now quarantine happens, right? All these strip clubs are closed now. Okay. Which
Mhm.
means that all the strippers that I knew, or exotic dancers, whatever the right way to say it is, those people had to find dangerous places to go, like these mansion parties and houses, not safe, like at all, in order to keep getting their money. And then I wondered, I know they're 1099 contractors, but they make the majority of their monies in tips. How are they being taken care of as far as unemployment goes during the pandemic? Because a lot of people who are in that industry, like, it's hard to write, what on your resume, 12 years of stripping,
Right.
hire me.
Right. Right. And not to, I mean, honestly, I would have thought they would have taken I'm sure a lot of them became, had only made OnlyFans with the pandemic.
Absolutely. So it grew that industry in the online realm, and probably some of them don't have to go back to their actual job dancing. So yeah, so I guess maybe it was a toss up. But
Yeah.
I have to say, I liked one of your podcasts where you were talking about the effects that the quarantine had on people's mental state. You were talking about finding alternatives from substance abuse use by like writing or journaling, or how TikTok was a release for that. I wish I would have
Yeah.
found it at the beginning. I've lost one friend to the COVID.
Oh
Okay.
no. I'm sorry.
But that's okay. But this year I've lost, my brother-in-law, a friend of many years, my mother's
God.
ex-husband, to alcoholism. Had a friend commit suicide this year. And I've never, I mean, yes, I've been, I throughout my life in the past, I had been immersed in, communities that would be like street communities, so it happens,
Yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
year it happens, but this year more than ever. And when I was trying to talk about like the psychological impact that the lockdowns have on people who, because I had my son in January, right? 2 months before this happened. So here I am, 30 pounds heavier, unable to, and this is a first world problem, but can't try on clothes inside the stores, can't really go
Right.
to the gym to get the mama weight off, want to have a party and introduce people to my brand new son,
You bring a
and
big.
can't. First time mom trying to make friends, can't. So the psychological impact of that, and I got postpartum depression actually, and
God.
I'm stubborn, so I don't take medication for stuff like that. And I'm like, I can do it. But I mean, it was like really hard. And I felt like, and so I actually did. I called a psychiatrist, right? And you know what the waiting list was for me to see a psychiatrist? Like 9 months.
I was gonna say months. Oh my God.
9 months just to get, by the way, and I'd stopped breastfeeding. I got back on my medication that I take that you can't take while you're breastfeeding. And they cut my insurance, changed it, and we're like, nope, you're going to have to go to urgent care every month for the next 9 months to get your prescribed medication. Your doctor won't see you anymore because you're on Medi-Cal. I'm like, just to rewrite my prescription, I only see her once a year to handle that. So it was like they told me I had to wait 9 months. So I ended up choosing to get out of Medi-Cal and paying for private insurance so that I could continue to get my medication, because 9 months, and I know people don't have access to that,
No. Yeah.
to nobody to be able to make the choice like I made to buy purchase private insurance. So, I did learn a bit when I was reading the comments about the mental awareness, the mental skit that I did. which was just a skit about liberals and Republicans and how they deal with mental, and I did start reading from the comments, like, yeah, I guess there is a point to be made that, some people do have to self-diagnose themselves, because to wait 9 months to be able to be seen by a doctor is
fucking ridiculous.
ridiculous. But then can we also acknowledge that there might be people who exploit things so that they can.
Yes.
Did it freeze again? Oh man, I hope it didn't.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I do think like self-diagnosing, like I get why that makes sense for that reason.
Yeah.
But do we think it's possible that like, just like we want to believe most women or all women when it comes to sexual assault, we all know that there have been women who have been dishonest about it. Right. I've actually met a person that's admitted that to me before, and people that lie about something like that do not want to admit that they have lied, and will do whatever they can to not admit it. I knew a gentleman who was accused of it. There was a custody battle, and the wife ended up admitting that the man did not molest the daughter. It was just over custody. So I've seen things like that happen, and I also wonder: is it possible that some people are exaggerating mental illness so that because we've now created an oppression pie chart, and you have to click off a certain number in order to be heard. So if you're like a straight white dude who grew up in a great family with, you might want to act like you're depressed at this point.
You got to have some sort of mental illness. You got to have something.
You need to, or else you will not be allowed to talk through the whole college experience. You won't be allowed to say one word. You're put in the corner. Your desk is on an island separated from all other desks.
Fuck you. Get out of here. I think you're right though. I think again, and this is where it kind of gets wonky. It becomes like a slippery slope, because it's almost, mental health issues have almost become a fad, and I think it takes away from the real conversation that it is. I mean, and listen, I think that if you're a human my personal opinion is, if you're a human being, at some point or another, you're going to experience an anxiety attack, a panic attack. And if you never do, good for you, like genuinely.
And if you don't, there might be something going on there too. Like, whoa,
are you a sociopath? Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you like a total narcissist or something?
Right.
You're a sociopath, you can't feel anything.
Right. Still a mental health. So like, I do feel like it's a thing, but I also it's a big thing that needs to be addressed more and talked about more. But I also feel like people exploit it, and it's not even safe to say that, because then you look like an insensitive asshole, because who can decipher between, like
we can't. But listen, don't we use our intuition and what I call it's our spidey senses? We do use our spidey senses, right? And so, and just like when I feel like when I was I was a liberal in college, right? And then I had a changing experience, but a lot of times I guess one of the things that caused me to begin to get frustrated, because I did go into it with a really open mind. And again, I was a first generation to pass high school. So me getting into college, I took it like everything that they're saying is the absolute truth, know? But it started to feel like I was in a situation where it was like, stand up, sit down, rub your belly, no, pat your head, no, you're doing it wrong, no, stand up, no, white silence is violence, but also don't talk right now. And also if you say it this way, you're a performative ally. And then I also think sometimes you get disingenuous people that want to just be down for the cause because they want a seat at the table. And so then you also get disingenuous people that way. And in order to find out what each is which, we used to have to use our own individual moral compass and ethics to with our spider senses decipher what is what. And I think that if we were all to do that on an individual basis, collectively we would be getting along a lot better, and we would realize that things are not just red and blue, right?
Oh my God, you took the thought right out of my fucking head, because it's not. It's so much more complicated and complex, and anybody who's got the faculties to take 5 seconds to just step back and think, realize that, is better off. It's not just red and blue. It really isn't. There's a little bit of purple. There's a little bit of fucking like green, like, you know what I mean? It's so not cut and dry the way that people make it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so right. Like, I know somebody on TikTok recently who she made a video about how she used to get beat with a belt, and like she made a song, like kind of like the song you did, like to that beat, like,
oh my God, with a belt.
Yeah, with like how, when she was a kid, when she did something wrong, um, she's a Hispanic girl. She used to get hit with the belt. The mother used to bring out the chancla and like hit her. And it was in response to somebody saying like, if you hit your kids, that's abuse or something like that. Automatically it's abuse, which I'm not trying to even get into the conversation, but she responded saying it's abuse. Like I was fucking hit with the belt if I talked back to my mother, that was me, how I grew up. Somebody took that video and basically said that she is an abuser herself, like she abuses her children, no evidence of it.
All
And
she was saying was that she got beat. That's all she said in the video. So they
yeah,
stitched her out of context. We all know how that goes.
right. And then ran with this narrative that she's an abuse sympathizer and she believes in abusing children. And then when we all came to bat for her, all of our, she's part of the TikTok crew. When we all came to bat for her, called us abuse sympathizers. And then
Tag me in this video when I have to see this.
this idiot blocked us. Like I can't even get to his TikTok because he blocked me now. I'll get you his name. I'll text it to you. But when
It froze again.
oh, it's
Okay, I
frozen.
see you. I
Oh,
see you.
okay, sorry. I
Okay,
don't know
so
what.
yeah, I don't either. It could be even. Is it me? Does this happen?
No, I think it's me. It keeps saying
Okay.
me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So stitching things out of context, how they even I've had it before. They stitched my sentence. It was like the literal sentence after that one was the opposite. Like you just completely intentionally.
Right.
And then I got so mad about it. I'm like, if this is what TikTok is, fine. We can stitch people out of context all day and have a whole stitch party. But I also hope that the people who are watching these stitches don't they go to the original? I always go to the original to like
Right.
kind of see like what's going on.
That's and I don't think genuinely, I don't think people even have the fucking attention span to even do it or the thought process. They just see it, blindly go with what they're seeing and then run with it. And that's what causes this fucking volatility. And again, it's the stitching out of fucking context. Like I saw your video, the one that went viral. Did it give me a reaction, a negative one? Yes, because I assumed what you were talking about. But then I went to your profile after seeing 75 different
So I couldn't believe it. I was like, of all the things, my husband was in a band for 12 years, right? Worked so hard, live performer. And his friends are so mad. He's like, really? A nursery rhyme? I was like, haha, suckers.
That's what did it. Like after seeing that video, having the reaction, eventually I was just like, let me check her out. Like I'm curious, And I went to your page and I saw you explaining, giving context to that video because in my opinion, it was taken out of context. Do I understand how it could be taken out of context?
Me too.
Yes, I do, but kind of not, because I also feel like there was a level of people just assuming that you meant something. And I think you were wearing a Trump hat, right? Or something like that in the video.
I can't remember no, I don't think I was, but my hashtags were. I can't remember. I was wearing a big leopard jacket. I think it was definitely, I don't remember. My hashtags were though.
Okay. And I think that was another reason because again, people assume.
And I only used those hashtags because I was new to the app and I was trying to find my way to that side. I didn't realize how irrelevant the hashtags actually are yet. I was just learning, because I don't feel like hashtagging. I don't know,
right, what the fuck
really even do anything.
But I think that's what it is. It's like people just assume out of context and they don't even take the time out. They don't want it.
So what do you think? Do you think that because of the way like technical, I was born in 89, so I mean, to the TikTokers, really same year?
Yeah.
What's up? I'm June. What's your birthday month?
Tell me. I'm June too.
June 12th.
June 29th. Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're not exactly the same sign, but we got birthdays coming up, right?
We're June babies. That's all that matters.
Yes, we are. So I feel like back in the day, like we all hung out like in person more because the internet hadn't advanced so rapidly, right? Yeah. And like we had remember when we like sat as kids to read like Harry Potter or whatever the book is, like the attention span to read a whole novel. And I have a Kindle and that did get me back into reading for a little bit, right? I read Demi Moore's life story of all the things, right? Like top of my reading list, you know, it's like, I'm going to break out they all made fun of me for this cup, whatever these cups are, whatever brand this is, someone bought me this cup. I was like, okay, I'm going to just read Demi Moore book on my Kindle and be just like the typical mom they make fun of.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, but we have like we have less attention span. So like I have a friend that's a writer and she's on this thing called like Scribe or some writes long articles. And I want to take the time to read it so much, but I'm too busy like doing all these other, and we're all so busy. And you know, like as a creator, like you have so much on your plate because you've got to do the TikTok, you have to keep your Instagram up, you have to keep your podcast going. I'm trying to get my podcast started also and like do all these things. And, you know, so it's all this, but it's even people that are just more consumers rather than just creators also, that I feel like we are so quick to make these assumptions because everything is so fast that we don't take the time, like the conversation. And that I'm starting to like in this conversation realize how awesome the podcasting is, because this is where the real work gets to be done. And TikTok really should be an advertising tool to lead to these deeper conversations, because this is where we can start to find middle ground. And like, I'm having hope right now that middle ground can still be found, because I started giving up and going, you know what, it's divided. I had a best friend from college. She was there. She came when my son was born. College turned her into a communist is what her political identity became. I was like, okay. You know, she came from very wealthy parents. She's never struggled a day in her life, right? We had completely opposite upbringings. I had a very challenging experience in my upbringing at some points, whatever, but she was cool. We got along, you know, she had her own challenges. She was overweight and had to experience that, you know, and so, and, you know, I partied a little too much in college. So we really connected, right? And we were there every day at each other's houses. And sometimes we would argue. I'd be like, I don't want to watch the Kardashians. The show is stupid. And she'd be like, okay, well, I don't want to watch Alex, you know, whatever I wanted to watch, you know, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, let's just go get Thai food and then go like to the park. And we were able to get through so many disagreements and also learn and grow from each other for so long. Right. Yeah. And I think, and it was I went to a Reopen California thing. And that is what did it for her. She hit me up and I was, you know, what was crazy too is this girl's been my best friend for like now almost 6 years, I guess. No, 5 years, whatever, long time. I moved around a lot growing up. So I didn't have a chance to make these tight friendships with females. I was always just in monogamous relationships, no friends really. Right. So I had this tight friendship and I realized like the true value of having a crew, of having friends. And after that friendship, I did learn like, this is very important. What a wonderful thing I got from this. I expanded my friend circle, but we were able to like get through so much. And at the end of the day, what was it that my brother-in-law died. So I was driving all the way to Washington, which is a 30-hour drive, breastfeeding my son in the car on the way during this whole thing, right? Which was very difficult. I mean, I took him out of the car, so he parked the car. I just want to make that really clear to anybody listening. The car was parked.
I wasn't even thinking that.
But you know, I know I've learned because one time I was in the passenger seat. I made a TikTok. I'm like, you guys, it flips it. You know, my American flag is not backwards. Tell TikTok to fix the camera. Don't talk to me. I am the passenger. So, you know, I had to do that. It was like this long road trip. And I simply asked my friend, hey, girl, are the salons like, and everything like that finally open? She's like, how dare you? She's like, I am working 6 days a week right now. I'm very busy and I'm so upset with you. I'm like, cool. I'm really sorry. But I'm actually I know that you don't want to value what I'm doing, but I'm driving 30 hours away with my brother. And my mother-in-law had also just lost her husband at the same week. So it was like this, and I'm like, you're being so insensitive as a friend. And I'm like, this is not like a pity me thing, but it was more like, girl, I'm going through it right now. I just had a baby just a couple, like my brain isn't, you know, we're not working all the way yet. And that was it. She dissed me for life, won't talk to me, will never be my friend. I even reached out to her a few months later and tried to be like, look, like, I love you. Like, I have so much love for you. Can we please find a way to respect each other and not end our friendship? Like, and
that's so all because you went to an event that she didn't necessarily agree with.
I went to an event that she didn't agree with. And I asked her what things were, because I was on my way to Washington and I was curious. This is when was this? It was around, I don't remember the month, April. It was in April. So it was when things were kind of confusing and we didn't really know. And I was Googling it and getting conflicting information. And I was asking her, like, what's San Diego like? Because I was thinking after that darkness, like maybe we needed to go have a good trip. I was thinking about coming out to visit and hang and get a hotel and say hi to her ultimately. But no, yeah, I took my son to a Reopen California protest and she didn't respect that. and because like usually we would have these disagreements, and she would like go on a rant to me, right? And I would be like, okay, like, because I don't want to argue. It's not worth it to me. I want to, like, I'm not going to change her mind. She's stubborn. That's fine.
Right.
I'm not trying to change her mind. Let's just talk about something else.
Right.
Like,
Or come to
let's just
some
not.
common ground.
But what I would do is I would listen to lectures for a long time and then just be like, okay, okay, okay. Anyway, dude, there's a cat cafe that just opened in Los Angeles. So let's freaking go there, girl, you know,
Right,
and let's
right.
talk about music, or let's do this. And so I got sick of enduring lectures and being talked to like a child for my beliefs.
Right. Right. And that is very, and it's disheartening. Like, my father is a very big Trump supporter. A lot of my father's side of the family are Trump supporters. They and it has nothing to even really do with Trump. Just like their stance is kind of very in line with your stance, and I'm not really. There are certain things that I can understand and whatever. Um, and him and I debate each other all the time, and sometimes I'm just like, I can't even have this conversation with you, and like we'll change the subject and keep it moving. But there's never any like, um I can't fucking speak to you again. My One of my aunts brought up personal things in an argument online. Fun fact, anybody watching, don't fucking argue with family politically online. It's just not it's not a good outcome. She
Oh my
brought up
gosh.
she brought up like personal shit on a public forum, and now I don't speak to her because of that. But it has nothing to do with her political fucking leaning. To me, that's just, how do you do that?
How do you out someone's, especially with like family and stuff like that? Or I also find it odd, and this is more of a Facebook thing, I think, but like I've had some friends argue with what is like clearly an elderly, like I've got some family members that are like 85. Okay. Like we can tell. So, or you can tell kind of when you're talking to somebody who might be having like you can tell when you're talking to somebody who's maybe not okay. Like maybe they're not doing well right now, you know? And I
Right.
had to like message and be like, look, here's who you're talking to. Here's what the situation is. Well, they're like, well, they shouldn't say that. I'm like, cool. They're an elderly person with like dementia. So I'm sorry that you don't like what they think, but I don't think that they're going to remember what they think or what you think. So let's be cool. Totally. Personal stuff, different. That's toxic though. That's
Yes.
toxic.
Yes, and that is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, to show that, like, listen, if I ever come to California, like, I'd love to get a drink with you and actually, like, be your friend. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we have more in common than we disagree with.
Yeah.
Politics is not life. I don't know how this even became a thing. It's just your belief system. Like, if you were Jewish and I grew up Catholic, does that mean we can't be friends? It's two different belief systems. No. You know what I mean?
No, and it's just become this way. Like when I was in high school, I moved around, and so when I was 16, I was ditching school with my baggy skateboarder pants, being a skateboarder with the little tank tops. You know what I mean? I thought I was so cool. I was like, I'm a skater, and like graffitiing is cool, and Gangstar's Guru's the best rapper, and I was going through my earthy colors, and like the whole, it's a look, right? I think you know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah, yeah.
talking about. So I was going through this whole thing, and I was young, and my boyfriend was in his early 20s. I was 16. He was in his early 20s. Looking back, I dated him for 8 years. He had the same last name as you, by the way. So he
Oh,
was the youngest
really?
at 13. Yeah, he was a Franco. So right on. And he was a great guy. I knew him forever. But in our little community, it was mostly, I guess, what society could consider. Now looking back at it, I don't like using this word because they're still many of my friends, but like what society would consider social rejects, or so very diverse group. So very ethnic diverse group. So we have like a super, like, people from Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice is a group. I don't know if that exists in New York, but they were in a part of that group. But so like, super like vocal about their Jewish religion, Black people from the hood, white person that would be considered white trash, the white Southerner guy who's gay, who you would never expect. You know what I mean? Like just all these different, and we all kicked it hard. And were there disagreements amongst this group? Yeah. And I had my little nickname. We all had our little nicknames, right? Like, and you know what? Of almost 15 years later, they have been still the most loyal people, still a diverse bunch, still people where it's like, how you said you could come to LA and have a drink. Yes, I would love that. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, so even with the people that I've known this long, right, we disagree about tons of stuff. And we, because we know each other forever, we'll sometimes argue about it, but get along. And at the end of the day, it's all love. It's all good. We realize that we'll always look out for each other.
Right. There's more to life than that shit. I think the main message is we're all fucking human beings. We all have our reasons for believing what we believe, and we all don't need to fucking agree with one another. And that's okay, because I think you're a pretty dope person. From and I think you're a very open-minded person too. Like genuinely, I think you're open-minded to different positions, and I commend that for whether I agree with your leanings or not, which we know I don't. You don't agree with me. That's fine. But you're a human being and I'm a human being, and that's really why I wanted to talk to you.
I mean, thank you. How long have we been talking for? This has been a really cool conversation. I'm glad you have me on.
We got to do this again, honestly. A check.
Actually, I'd love to. This is really cool. And I like your chair, by the way. You have the official. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It's so cool. You have the official, like, that's what you need, like the official podcaster. And out of just really curiosity, just because we'll wrap up our conversation. I think it's been like an hour about, yeah.
I've taken an hour, almost an hour and a half of your time.
Oh no, it's all cool. But yeah, if I could just ask, I don't know, this will stay on the recording. Yeah. Okay. So I'm setting up my podcast, right? I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Is there a way to make it so you can break it down and put it back up every time, or is that not possible?
Oh, like break the setup down and then put it.
Yeah, because I have a 1-bedroom, right?
Oh yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just need one of those chairs, because all of them, every podcaster that's worth their salt has one of those chairs.
Oh, you mean break down the chair?
No, not the whole chair. The chair can stay. But I need to have, like I'm saying, your chair is cool. And you look so professional, so legit. And so like I got my equipment. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm going to get it actually set up tomorrow. But it's like, it's cool. I mean, and you talked about a place that you go through. Like, I'm telling you, after doing this, I've only been on one other podcast, and it was like sharing my disdain for the 12-step programs. Okay. That's the only other experience. And it was an older lady. She did not have a special chair or a cool microphone or anything. It's like, but your setup is legit. But it's also cool, like the way you talked about it, like anybody can do this. Remember, you talked about how you only really need, and like that was really good because it was talking about the accessibility of podcasting, which is so important. Yes. People feel like they need to have all this fancy or expensive equipment. If you can afford it, great. But I think it's really just about getting started and just going for it, and you learn as you grow.
Yep. And and also if you have any because I mean your husband is a musician, so he probably knows audio.
Yeah. Like they just put a microphone in his hand and he'd be like, yeah, that. Okay. And he knows, when it was time to set the chords, he was like, no, I'm being an artist. You guys do that. But he has some understanding. Yeah. His drummer's his ex-drummer's coming over to help me out. So that
if you have any questions, seriously, hit me up. I'll help.
Oh, you say that, I'm going to be 21 questions in your Instagram inbox all the time.
I love it. Anytime you have a question, ask away, because I love this shit. I think more people need to do it. Like you said, it creates a conversation. It creates a dialogue with people. I think
it's real depth is what this is. This is what that is.
And I think you wouldn't be in an echo chamber like on your shit, on your podcast. I can't picture you being the type of person. Yeah, you'll probably talk to people who agree, but I could picture you kind of being like me, wanting to have people with different opinions. And I think for that reason alone, whether you end up agreeing with them, fighting with them, to whatever it is, I think I can't wait to hear your podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's going to be called the Jackie Lowe Show, and I can be found on TikTok at Jackie, JACKILOWE show, Jackie Lowe show.
Jackie Lowe show. And also your Instagram's the same?
Jackie Lowe show. Yeah.
Jackie Lowe show.
It's cool. I realize. Yeah. And you're the Franco show. So see, and it's good. It's good to use that because your name is there.
Yeah.
And like, and it's rad. It's rad that you use your first and last name because you're sending a message when you do that, that you are not afraid of your true opinions about things out there. Like you're not concerned with anybody and what they have to say about your opinion. Like it was really important to me to use my first and last name. People are like, well, you shouldn't use your first. I'm like, well, I have nothing to hide.
Right.
I don't think like I feel that I'm a good person. I don't want to see anybody harmed. I don't want to see anybody feeling, bummed. So no, I'm happy to have a personal conversation with anybody. And I don't have a job, so you can't dox me. I'm a stay-at-home mom.
And I'm sure you probably have guns or some shit, right?
Well, it's good to protect ourselves when people are leaking my address,
There you go. So that's it. That's all that matters. We got guns here too. So come to my house, motherfucker. You're gonna be lit up like a Christmas tree. Right.
If you get me fired, it'll be my son will have to fire me. I don't think he's gonna do that. So
can't fire mom. So fuck off.
No. All right, Tori. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been an awesome experience.
Thank you for being here. Text me anytime. I think you're awesome. I disagree with most of what you say, but I think you're an awesome person, and I appreciate you even doing this.
Thank you, and I'm glad we found some common, like some kind of like. See, isn't it cool that there was some stuff, like so?
Yeah, it's cool to not be a barbarian and actually talk. So.
Yeah, totally. Much respect to you.
You too. Nice to meet you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.